everyone, and welcome to Humans of Moving, a Supermove Original Series. Let's get ready to crank up the knowledge and excitement because you just landed in the powerhouse of relocation tales. I'm Ryan Marsh, your host, and I've got the awesome Nick Zalk with New Journey Moving, former banker, now moving industry guru, on with us today. And what's going on, Nick, man? I appreciate you joining.
Ryan, I was thinking about it earlier, and I was thinking about the fact that you and I were introduced by somebody else, and man, it has been an absolute treat every time we talk. So I'm looking forward to this. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. I just really appreciate you jumping on with somebody like myself, and we've chatted a few times over the past few months. And dude, every time we talk, we just have a freaking blast here. So
Oh
I'm
yeah.
really excited for this one. No idea where it's gonna go, but I just know every time that we chat, man, we it's a lot of laughter, a lot of fun, and we check a lot of boxes. So
Oh yeah.
what's new in your world, man? Obviously, it's peak season for moving companies. What are you seeing out there? What are you hearing out there? And what from your side of the field? What's everything looking like?
Man, it's been fun, and I know we're going to dive into my story a bit, but jumping into moving season, we actually I think this last weekend hit 1 year of ownership, which has been a wild ride. And you're right, things are ramping up. The school year is ending with most places, and so the thing that I'm finding is that there's just a little bit of a delay. I'm hoping the doors burst wide open. The guys are out there, they're ready to rock and roll. And of course, it's been all of that blocking and tackling, as you say. So there's been a lot of preparation for busy season, making sure we got supplies, getting sharpening our pencils and getting ready to attack the summer.
Hey, well, first of all, congrats on 1 year. And now, does it really feel like 1 year? Does it feel like 10? Because I always said this thing like in the moving world, it's almost like dog years, right? Like for every 1 year that you put in the moving industry, it takes like 5 or 6 years out of you. So,
Oh yeah. No, that's so well, and that's so true. And it's funny because, as you know my story, we rebranded about halfway through. And so early in the winter, we decided to rebrand. I think that took a few years off my life as well.
yeah, I can only imagine, man. But no, I guess we got to dive into it. So, going from banking, right? You're a
Yeah.
super successful banker. Where in your right mind did you say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and purchase a moving company. This is where I'm going to put all my eggs. I guess if you don't mind, what did that look like, feel like, smell like, and
Yeah.
tell me why, man.
Well, and I will. I'll go back even just a little bit. So I went to Bible college in Tennessee, and then after that, came home. The classic, got married, started having kids, and realized I needed a job. And so I did various sales jobs, including a stint at Bowflex, which I love. So when you were looking at the Bowflex commercials and those dudes getting jacked, it was not me. But if you called, you talked to me. And so I had a blast at Bowflex. I learned sales and did some different sales roles, and then I was kind of facing this crossroads of, all right, what am I doing? Where am I going? How am I going to grow? And my dad had been doing business banking, and it was that classic thing like, Dad, what do you do again? I didn't know. And so I ended up getting a job at US Bank doing business banking. And what that did was it opened my mind and world to this massive exposure to entrepreneurship. And so I got paid to sit at the table with guys who were running really successful multi-million dollar businesses. And then I was getting trained as a banker on the financial side. And so I was learning P&Ls and balance sheets and revenue and expenses and all of this, which most people don't ever get exposure to. And so there was this financial side that I was learning, and I was also sitting at the table with these guys who were buying tons of real estate. And so I was seeing how these guys were getting all different kinds of passive income. And so I was like, all right, there's clearly a different way to play the game of business than be a W 2 employee and be a grinder and then really building somebody else's bank account. And so I just spent years doing that and learning. And then that morphed into a podcast myself. And we spent 2 years sitting down with business owners and saying, hey, how'd you do it? Why'd you do it? What'd you do? And so then it was like, all right, I've accumulated all of this knowledge. Now it's time to turn around and actually do something. And then I started looking. I started, exploring different types of opportunities and business ownership. Well, I stumbled into the moving industry. I was not somebody who worked my way up into it. I was not somebody who said, I want to be a mover. I want to be an owner of a moving company. but man, it's been a blast so far.
So you didn't grow up in it. It wasn't like pushed on you. You actually said, "Hey, here's an opportunity, and let's go."
Yeah.
What I
Yeah.
do want to do, you mentioned a word that when I was in my moving days, you mentioned the Bowflex. Have
Yeah.
you and your company have yet to move a Bowflex?
We have not.
Okay, yeah, just
Thankfully,
you might
those
want to
things are,
call a third party on that. Well, you might be an expert though. Obviously, handling the
that's right.
marketing of those guys, you might know how to break that bad boy down. But
That's right.
those are never very fun to move. We'll
No
say.
doubt. And I'll tell you this. I mean, you wouldn't know it, but I don't actually use one. I probably need to, but I can sell you one. That's about it.
I got no room in this house for that. Let me tell you that, Nick. But I tell you, a really cool part of your story, like I said, love hearing the journey. Obviously, you had exposure to the financial piece. You had exposure to entrepreneurs who were doing their thing, which I think is incredible. And the podcast, definitely got to check you out
Yeah.
and listen up on that one. I could probably pick up some nuggets here, but you are living in one state, operating a moving company in another state. So not only is first year of entrepreneurship super difficult, you got a super difficult, I don't say a super difficult industry, just one that maybe
Yeah.
say has been a little bit underserved for many years. How have you found being in one side of the country, operating on the other side of the country?
Yeah.
Um, how's the operations looking? How are you able to build trust with your team? I guess I know
Yeah.
there's a lot of folks out there that are, want to open up another branch, another location, or they're thinking about, um, doing things different in other states and what have you. What's it
Yeah.
look like for you? The pros, the cons, the
Yeah.
funds, the high fives, and then the my gosh, why am I doing this here? Or maybe I need to move that. Like, I guess kind
Yeah.
of touch on that if you don't mind, because I think it's amazing what you're doing.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. We will probably end up part oneing and part twoing this episode, and part two is going to be like a year from now, and either I'm going to have total gray hair or I will have moved. We'll figure it out. But no, you're absolutely right. I think to answer that, we go back again a little bit to those days of being a banker and looking at business owners, and you really start to understand that there's different groups of self-employed or business owners. There's the guy that says, "I'm going to do everything." And I don't trust anybody else. And I have friends and neighbors like that, where they're like, I
Yeah,
don't trust my customers with anybody but me, and I'm going to handle everything. What I've found is that person, they want to be their own boss, but also they've bought a job or they've started being an entrepreneur, and it's a job, and they're the guys that say, um, hey, I'm going to grow this thing to my max capacity, and then I'm hanging out. I'm good. This is the life that I have. There's a lot of businesses for sale right now
yeah.
with guys like that. They were a landscaper, they were a painter, and they had their book of business and they have their reputation, and they didn't want to expand it. I didn't ever want to do that. My goal was, how do I build systems, processes, and efficiencies in the business so that it doesn't require me? So I've lived in this state of tension, admittedly, for the last year of, all right, I think the business would grow faster and it would scale a whole lot quicker if I was there and I was the guy. And you and I have had a lot of conversations about that.
Yeah.
But I've also, in talking with you and talking with other movers, to be the guy that means on a Saturday somebody doesn't show up and you're on the truck all day. And I haven't wanted to be that. Now there's that whatever it takes mentality, but also being across country, I'm forced to rely on others. I'm forced to build systems. I'm forced to build processes. I'm forced to build efficiencies within the business that uh, I have to do that because I can't go get on the truck. If the truck's broken down because the guy's got it stuck in a ditch, what is the option? Because I can't go down there. I can't hop in the car and go fix it. So it's been really interesting. I think it's sometimes, to your point, it's been, I want to bash my head against a wall. But on the other hand, it's been really nice because I've had the opportunity to build branding and to build culture and to build, um, the growth trajectory, and to build those different systems. I think it's been a different way to approach growing the business.
No, I love it because from our talks, my whole thing, and I tell a lot of moving people that I speak with, is to fire yourself off that truck. Because that's to your point, the ones that want to basically be in the business and they want to grow it lightning fast, but yet they're so involved, so heavily involved with the day to
Yeah.
day. They're literally on the truck, they're packing boxes, they're, handling GLFs, they're doing everything that they can within that business because they want to have that tight. I don't know if they don't have that trust, so they don't want to lead from behind. So you
Yeah.
coming from a whole different lens, running from a whole different state. I mean, that's just that's super, super cool. So I mean, you
Well,
really
and
don't have the ability to be on the truck, right? You
right.
really have to be kind of from that I don't say that
Yeah.
10,000 foot view by any means, but you're still very active, but just a whole different set of canisters, we'll say.
Well, and one of the big things that you and I've talked a ton about is culture. And
Mm.
everybody knows that to set the culture, to set the tone, to set the expectation that you want, man, that is an uphill battle, especially buying a business that had a totally different culture. It's been very interesting to try and build that. But this is just me in my journey. What I found is that by and large, the guys that I'm working with, they've been movers for a really long time, but no one's really given them the opportunity to rise to the occasion. And so I'm hounding and preaching to them every day, hey, this is not the business it once was. This is the new culture. When they get an incredible review from a customer, I'm sending it to them and saying, this is who we are now. This is
Yes.
interwoven in the DNA of this company. And you're either going to get on board and you're going to be rewarded for that, and we're going to run and we're going to go. And that, I think, it's interesting because a lot of times that culture piece, I think we fear that we're not going to be able to set the tone. And yeah, there's moments where I think the guys kind of fall back into old habits, but I think by and large, there's been we're going to rise to the occasion. We see what you're trying to build. We're excited to be a part. And that's been a blessing.
It's a so I love the culture piece because again, talking to hundreds of moving companies, I always feel like there's either really, really good culture or oh boy, we need some stinking improvement here. And I'll just leave it at that. But what was one of probably the hardest pieces of, obviously outside guy coming in, you've already got established crews, teams, office folks. What was their view on you? I guess I'm gonna flip this up a little bit. Were they like, who is this guy? I've got this big shot banker coming in, but how were you able to earn their trust, gain their trust, and really like you've done a phenomenal job of 180-degree flipping that
Yeah.
workforce culture? Like, what was some of the aha moments for you, and what were some of the things that you might have did or said that really started to set the tone in the 360 degree of the change of culture? Because it's hard to
Man,
do,
totally.
especially when you're not there every single day. I know it took us probably a year and a half to 2 years to change the culture in our organization. And it
Yeah.
was an all hands on deck effort and still took that long. But again,
Totally.
we were a hot mess. I'll be
Yeah.
very honest with you, right?
Yeah.
But what you've been able to do in a year is phenomenal. So I guess for the ones listening, like what are some of the hot pieces or a couple tips that you can do, especially not being in seat in that
Yeah.
office every day from a distance. What do you do, Nick?
Man, I love that. And that's interwoven, I think, with who I am. And that it's funny, it goes back to the Abundant Journey podcast, which has been our podcast. And that abundance piece is there's a way to play the game of life and business with an abundance mindset or a scarcity mindset. Scarcity mindset says here's the pie and here's the money, and I'm going to get as big a piece of that pie as I can. Abundance mindset says there isn't just one pie. Let's make pies. Let's build abundance and realize we're better together. On top of that, let's say, hey, how can we help others? There's enough work to go around. There's enough business to go around. I learned from those business owners in interviewing them, but also as a banker that there's this concept. I think it's a book. It's called Radical Candor. And it's that age old saying, people don't really care what you know until they know that you care about them.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
what I've found is that when you come in with that genuine care and that heart to help them and enable your team and equip your team and to have that abundance mindset, that you're genuinely as a business owner, your heart is to enable them. I think sometimes we look at it as say, hey, these people are means to help me grow my business. That's true. But if you flip the script and say, I get to serve my employees, I get to actually be a blessing to my employees because I'm providing jobs. I'm providing financial support to their families. And this is not an idea that I've come up with. I mean, this is, again, this is years of interviewing business owners, guys who are running $15 million a year companies, $20 million a year companies, and say, hey, I got 60 employees that I get to serve and I get to steward and I get to make sure that they're provided for and make sure that their families are taken care of. And there's that burden as a business owner. I think a lot of times we as entrepreneurs can get a bad rap of, oh, you're just the boss man who isn't willing to do the work and just bleeding everybody dry. That's not the kind of business I'm building, and that's not the kind of guys that I've spent time with.
No, I love what you say there. And again, my business, personal business that I have on the side there, my wife and I initially went into this with, hey, we're going to make the money. We're going to this. It's going to add a whole nother line of revenue for this, that. It's crazy how fast that mindset changed.
Yeah.
Once I actually had amazing humans, I don't say working for us, but working with us,
Yep.
how fast the mindset changed. I didn't get the excitement over having the record days of sales. Like, yes, of course, we all got excited, we all celebrated. But I tell you that the most exciting times as a smaller entrepreneur like myself is when a one employee bought her first brand new vehicle
Yeah.
and came in, at 30 some odd years old, bought her first brand new vehicle, the color, the specs, and just seeing how happy that she
That's right.
was and like
Yeah.
thrilled. And then the other employee, her and her husband, bought their first home together. Now, again, is it all because of us? Who knows? Probably not. But just being a part of that journey
That's
of,
right.
not looking at all but looking at how happy our people are, what they do for our people, and truly kind of leading from behind. I give the girls all the autonomy in the world to make the decisions that they need to make, and it's just been such a fun journey.
That's right.
Um, I absolutely love it. But what's been your biggest in the year that you've been there? What's been your biggest aha moment? Sort of say, I hate to put you on the hot seat here, but since starting the organization, has there been a moment when you're like, aha, like either this clicked, that clicked, or hey, we're all rolling in the same direction here finally? Like, what is there been a moment yet? A
I
good
mean,
moment, we'll say.
well, and it's funny. I think this is a real moment. It's not, I don't know, you could take it or leave it as a good moment or not. I think the biggest thing is that there's so much noise in social media that says, buy a business, you be the boss, you be the entrepreneur. And I think there are very few entrepreneurs out there who, when they're living it every day, they actually are honest with you, because the clickbait is, well, come join my program or come take my course and then get rich, in 30 days. I think the aha moment is that it really is, it's a grind. It's going to take a whole lot longer. It's going to take a whole lot more work than you anticipate. And you have to get good at everything, as especially something, there are industries out there where it doesn't require much, manpower. It doesn't require a lot of people. But if you're jumping into an industry like the moving industry and the service industry, you got to be good at so many different things: people management and inspiration and numbers and sales and marketing. Like, there's so many different pieces you have to get good at. And I think, to your point with the journey there, I think you're going to approach it as you're walking in, and some of those things you're going to be naturally good at. Some of those things you're going to really have to improve on. And some of those things you're going to be able to delegate. But at the end of the day, I would say the aha moment has just been, oh, this is work, and it takes a lot of effort and it takes a lot of time.
Yes, I will agree and check all the boxes with that. A ton of work, a ton of time, and I feel like there's a curveball thrown at you probably every single day.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Well, and I think not only the curveball, but you have to say, what are you doing it for? And I think that goes back to the why so often. Because, yeah, there's a lot of opportunities to just say, hey, I'm going to go back to being a W-2
Mhm.
employee. I was making good money, I had good benefits, and I had my time off. But what's your why? Why are you building something? Why are you, growing, and what's your dream and your goal? And for me, as I got little girls, and we're trying to build something for the family. Again, going back to that steward piece,
Yep.
I'm being a producer and not just a consumer. I'm getting to produce and build something that blesses other people. I think those are the things that keep you going on those days. And If your why is, hey, I just want to get rich quick, or I just want to go live on a beach and drink, Mai Tais, maybe there's an industry you can do that in. It definitely isn't this one,
No,
at
man,
least that I've found.
yeah. No, I wish the why was, hey, just get rich, beach, Mai Tai, read this book, pay $500, take this 30-minute course, and we're all billionaires here. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. And I know in our previous conversation, man, your why is very deep, super respectable, and it's it can bring a tear to an eye to be very honest with you. So we won't bring any of that up here. We don't need to shed any more tears on any more podcasts here. But um, with you not being in the same room as your leadership guys, your teams, your what have you, what are, I guess one or two lessons that you learned right off the bat? And one reason why I'm asking this, I have I don't want to say, I'll say a friend. I have a friend who's looking at purchasing a moving company. He's not as across the country as you are, but
Yeah.
he's, 10, 12 hours away. Does have experience in the moving industry, but he's really worried about not being in the same room as his employees. And yeah, I told him I was jumping on a podcast with him. Like, hey, I'll ask the question so you can watch this in a couple days. But
Yeah.
are there any leadership lessons you've learned from not being in the same room as your people? I mean, I know we've got the Zoom, right? So we're in the same room, but
Yeah.
reality not in that same room.
I think that's a great question. And it's interesting. Just I'll hit you with the honest answer that I've experienced. I'm talking about the guys. I'm talking about equipping them, helping them um, become the best version of themselves. But there is the reality that the the moving industry, people come from all different backgrounds of life. What I learned pretty early on with some tough lessons was there are components of the business that I need to completely remove from them. So there's no opportunity for gray area. There's no opportunity for them to be able to do something that I don't want them to do. For an example, is I handle all payments and I do it all electronically. I don't accept cash. I don't do checks. I take one, I've taken that responsibility off of them. But I think early on, I learned some lessons of these aren't the guys that I want to be dealing with cash and want to be running around with that. And that was a painful lesson. I've talked with other moving owners who would say, "Oh yeah, guys would take supplies, or guys would do this, or guys would do that." And so that's maybe the underbelly of the moving industry, and just depending on who you have. And these were people that I inherited as I bought the business. I mean, these weren't my MVP choices originally going in. And so I think there was a lesson learned of, hey, if I'm not going to be in the room, I need to control the things that I can control. Another thing, which the previous owner had told me, hey, get trackers on the trucks. And
Yes.
it was like, okay, well, why do I need trackers on the trucks? Oh, well, that's because they're doing beer runs at 2 a.m. with the trucks. And that is
Beer runs, side jobs.
absolutely 100%. And so I think the reality of it is that, yes, you want to give guys opportunities to step up, and you want to give guys opportunities to take initiative. But you also need to understand that you have to protect yourself. You have to protect the company because it's your livelihood. And so there are things that you can remove and security measures you put into place. I don't know if that answers your question.
No, absolutely. I mean, yeah, yeah, no. I mean, the biggest piece, obviously, removing obstacles, right? I think that's any good leader, owner, or what have you of any business. The more you can remove the obstacles from your team to allow them to work better, happier, and do less with more, I think is obviously always the way to go. And yeah, controlling the finances right away, I think is probably a
Yeah.
good call on that one, especially being where you're at. But no, man, what I don't want to keep drilling you with questions by any means, but like this summer, you super pumped for it? Is it is the team prepared? Of course, you're super prepared. I'm sure the team is very ready to rip. What's that looking like for you?
Man, I am super excited. It's interesting again going with that concept of noise. I'm one who likes to absorb as much information and content as I can. But what that can do is it can really muddy the water from making a decision. And it's easy to kind of sit back in your comfortable chair with your coffee and just be a content absorber, but not taking action. And I'm sure we can kind of deviate on that topic just as as an owner. But what I'll say is that the industry I'm learning, it's very competitive. There's so many people out there looking to try and book moves, whether I'm buying leads and there's multiple people trying to go for the same move, or branding, awareness, social media, all of that are different opportunities in different lanes. But man, I'll tell you, like, it's an uphill battle. I think, especially with rebranding early in the year for us, people don't know us. And it's the
Yeah.
classic thing is, if people don't know you and your trucks are sitting in your parking lot and you're twiddling your thumbs, it's a dangerous recipe. So you need to find ways to be known, find ways to be visible. And so, yes, I'm excited, but I also look on and recognize that there is a huge uphill battle that we face, and I'm excited about that.
And I'll tell you, man, I speak with all these moving companies and owners. When we share ideas and we talk quite a bit, I will give you the ultimate kudos, the ultimate prop, the high five over the piece. You are one that takes action.
I appreciate that.
100%. Even on the smallest things, it doesn't even matter. Every time we chat, you pick up a little nugget here, or I've even seen you out on the Moving Company Owners Unite site,
Yeah.
posting here and there and taking action again. So no, I'm super excited to. And I think we even talked about this like many, many months ago. Like, hey, at that first year, love to look back and see where you are. And
Hmm.
I think been an incredible journey where you've been year one. So year two, year three, year four. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm super pumped for you, man. And I think you did the rebranding at the right time before you really started to grow and build the machine. You said, hey, we're going to stop the buck right here, stop the bleeding right now. Let's do this thing here.
Well, and that's an interesting part. One of my favorite people is a gentleman up in Seattle, Washington, and he is in his 80s. And he's the guy that I look on and I'm like, all right, when I'm 80, I want to be you. And this is a guy who he has bought and sold over 40 businesses over his career, multi millionaire, real estate. He has, yeah, a phenomenal man. But all none of that matters. It's people, it's grandkids, it's relationships. We had him on our podcast. But anyways, all of that to say, one of the things he told me was, you can't rebrand and you can't change culture until you can back it up and you have the people in place to be able to change that culture. And so that's an interesting piece, because for so much of year one, it
Like you
was,
did the opposite of like
I did,
you didn't necessarily I don't want to say you didn't have the people, right? 'Cause I don't know your people personally. You didn't necessarily have the experience, but like I feel like you defied all odds based on what he said at that point and
well,
really flipped the
and I really, well, it's so funny, as I'm sitting here propping him up, I'm like, yeah, that wasn't the only piece I didn't listen to. The other one was, don't buy this business until you're there. And so, but what I'll say is that, I get why he said what he did, but two, I think it's been pretty interesting in the fact that, um, we were spending money under building the brand of the old business and trying to recoup that and recover that. And then it was, all right, well, we're dumping all this money and we're going to build this brand recognition. And then we're going to turn around in a year and say, hey, we're a new company and we're a new brand. And it was like, why don't we do it now? And so I think that comes back to what I was saying earlier of giving those guys an opportunity to rise to the occasion.
Yep.
I didn't have bad guys. I think I just had guys where the bar was set super low and they weren't given an opportunity to rise. And so what I did was say, this is the new company. This is the bar. This is the expectation. Here's going to be the reward if you guys come be a part. And if you don't want to, that's fine. Go do what every other, and I'm broad brushstroking here, but what so many movers do. We're not that company. This is not who we are. This is not the culture of this company, and this is not what I'm building. And give them an opportunity to rise to that occasion. And I think for the most part, my guys have done that.
And they're probably feeling it, they're seeing it. Have you seen the guys kind of like rise to the occasion and take more pride and kind of really bleed that new journey blood, sort of say?
Yeah, I think so. I
That's
mean,
amazing.
it's a process. I would say yes, in the fact that they get where we're going, they get what we're doing, and they also understanding it's a grind. I mean, they understand that it is a process, but they get excited too. I mean,
That's awesome.
they have gotten some, I mean, some phenomenally written, and I don't think they were Chat GPT written reviews, but they have gotten some incredible reviews. And I'm just like, guys, this is why we do what we do. You know, coming and helping people in their moment of need, going above and beyond. I mean, we've had people say, "Hey, I've hired movers for 2 decades, and your crew was the most respectful, the most
Wow.
responsible, never complaining, working their butts off, going above and beyond." And the guys, I mean, that they've taken that initiative on themselves. So
Isn't why difference in leadership, change management, new leadership, because the previous company didn't have the best reviews,
right,
right? They had the same
still working
people.
on those.
They had the same.
Yeah,
But you look at that, and because a lot of people think, oh, our reviews are this. It's reviews aren't good. Our guys aren't doing quality work. It's the guys. It's the guys. It's the team. It's the crew. It's the this. Oh, it's the customer. We just haven't
yeah,
had bad customers. But you came on board, right? Same crews, same equipment. I don't say the same customers, but same market, and
yeah.
truly flip the script, man. So I want to give you all the kudos in the world for
I
doing that.
appreciate it.
Wonderful job and doing it across the country. We're coming to a close here, and I want to hit you up with some hot seat questions, not
Yeah,
movie related by any means. Have a little bit of fun with it, because again, I do appreciate you jumping on, and I love following your journey. I love the name of the company, New Journey, because it truly speaks volumes of what you're doing and how you're doing it. But are you ready to get it smacked
dude,
sideways with a hot seat question
hit
here?
me, man.
They're pretty basic here. So, first question, what's your go-to gas station snack on a road trip? That must-have gas station snack.
Dude, it's probably peanut butter M&Ms, man.
Really? The big
I
ones or the little ones?
dude, the peanut butter, not the peanut M&Ms. Those are
Oh, peanut butter.
those are weak sauce, man. You got to go peanut butter M&Ms. And dude, if I'm going road trip, I'm grabbing those, and I'm grabbing cracked pepper sunflower seeds, and we're rocking and rolling.
See, I love sunflower seeds, but when I travel with sunflower, my mouth gets so dry from all the salt, and it's like I can't even drink anything afterwards because I feel like my mouth is just torn apart. But I love
Dude,
I love ranch sunflower
there
seeds.
you
But
go. Dude, it's game over. You spend the rest of the trip with a raw mouth, but it is totally worth it.
we just you start with the sunflower seeds first, and then you put in the peanut butter after to kind of help soothe,
Dude,
or
that's the way to do it.
oh man. Question two for you. What is a personal business pet peeve? Like something tiny, but it absolutely just makes that switch go off and drives you nutso.
Dude, I'm totally going a different direction than I think you would anticipate with this. Working from home and working completely across the country, a personal pet peeve can be, I have 3 little girls and we just had the 4th baby, and man, if I'm in the zone working and I'm making calls and the girls come in and they want to start bringing up questions or help with school, and dude, I share that to be very honest and transparent, and to say to my shame, because I am reminded very quickly when they come in, oh, why am I even doing this? Well, why I'm doing it is for them. And why am
Yep.
I doing this is to be there and to be home and to be in their lives. And so, again, I'm not to throw that and go deep with you, but I think, man, we can get so tunnel visioned in growing and scaling and having this passion to build this monumental business, but man, you cannot lose the journey. You cannot forget why we do what we're doing. And man, if I am some multimillionaire someday, but I don't invest in my girls and I'm not around for them, what was the point of all of it? So, dude, the pet peeve can oftentimes be, oh, you're distracting me from my work. But guess what? I should be welcoming that distraction.
You made the hair stand up. And when I was thinking my mind, my pet peeve, I'm not even gonna say it because it's so silly, so what have you, but do you know how many times I'll be sitting in here, and it's funny because both the wife and son, like you can tell when they get close to the door because you can almost hear the floor creak a little bit, and they put their head up to the door to listen to see if they can hear me talking. If
Yeah.
they don't hear me talking, that's kind of like they'll open the door. But there are often times where I'll be in the middle of something like this and that door cracks open. Of course, you're doing kind of the side eye, and I'm like, man, I'm in the zone with this webinar. I'm in the zone with this. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And at the same time, like now that you said that, you just truly like made me look and like it's amazing that they want to come in and it's
Yeah.
really awesome that I get to sit here and do what I do at home with my
Totally.
family when there's a lot of people that they're spending 40, 50, 60 hours a week away from their family.
Yeah,
I'm
man.
spending 40, 50, 60 hours with them. That could be a pet peeve too, right?
Yep. That's so true, man. And again,
But
I think I try to continue to drive us all, and the best entrepreneurs that I've had on the podcast, the best entrepreneurs that I have had the privilege of interviewing or sitting down with as a banker over and over say, hey, I built something big, but man, that balancing that family and work time, I think we will always continue to wrestle that. And so, man, turn those pet peeves into opportunities. I'll tell you, we were just in Tennessee 3 weeks ago, and I brought my oldest with me on the trip. I'll tell you, she was a better salesperson than me walking into storage facilities to drop off flyers.
that's
And
perfect.
she grabbed a broom and started sweeping out the trucks. The guy said, man, we need to have you around. And of course, she had the classic dad question. I'm getting paid for this, right? So, yeah, we're training her right.
Intern. I say you're an intern. You teach you what an intern is first, right?
That's right, man. I
Well,
love
awesome.
it.
And last one for you. This one's a little interesting here, but if time froze for everyone but you for 24 hours, what's the first thing you're doing?
As a ex-banker, I can't go say be like a bank robber or anything like that. And it's weird that
Yeah.
that's where my mind went. But man, time froze for everybody but me. I'll keep it strictly business oriented. I'd go to Tennessee and drop off as many flyers as I could and remove all of my competition's business cards and flyers.
That's really nice of you, Nick. No, I love the mind on that. Me, no, 24 hours. I'm shutting it down. I am hitting up every golf course in
There
the
you
area
go.
with the
Oh,
cart. I'm
geez.
right in the beer fridge. But trust me, when everybody wakes back up after 24 hours, they're gonna be like, "What happened to this guy? Like,
Yeah, no doubt.
who let
No
him play
doubt.
that much golf?"
I probably have a panic attack being like, "What happened and what am I supposed to be doing?"
You'd have all, you're in Tennessee, every billboard be changed to New Journey.
That's right.
Everybody
That's
else
right,
would
baby.
be, everybody's trucks would be like delaminated. It'd have new logos on them. I see where you're going with this, Nick.
Dude, hey, man, I'm taking the opportunity and running with it.
That's awesome, man. But hey, Nick, I appreciate you being on here. Nick Zalk, New Journey Moving. And I want to thank everyone for tuning in to Humans of Moving. Man, I'm having a hard time speaking here today, but we'd love to have you on our show. If you're a mover, a shaker, or just as passionate about the industry as we are, please give me a shout at Ryan@supermove.com, and we'll see everybody on the next episode. Nick, it was a pleasure, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, man. We'll talk to you on the next call.
Take care, dude.